New York Undercover had it all. Drama, action, mystery, romance, and fantastic music that was featured in every episode. This show had become one of the most fascinating TV series in television history. From contract disputes, a lack of respect from the network, and whitewashing, this show had been through it all. And in today's video, you will learn about the real reason why New York Undercover was canceled. Now before we start, let's be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and push that notification bell to be sure you won't miss out on any more uploads. Now without further ado, let's cue that intro. In 1992, Uptown Records owner Andre Harrell struck a deal with Universal Studios. Harrell wanted to broadcast a different show, and at this time in history, black TV shows was on lock, with shows like The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Living Single, and Martin, to name a few. Harrell wanted a TV show that was going to stand out, so instead of doing a sitcom, he decided to aim for a show that was like Miami Vice, but with a hip-hop twist. At the time of the development of the show, the Rodney King incident happened that led into the LA riots. Tensions was at an all-time high between black people and LAPD. Even the biggest rappers of the time spoke out against the police, such as Ice-T, NWA, and Public Enemy, to mention a few. With all this going on, Harrell wanted to shift the narrative by casting two people of color in the lead parts so they could be relatable to the viewers. Harrell based the starring characters from Chicago undercover cops, the Slick Boys. Harrell's original name for the show was Uptown Undercover after the label, but instead they chose to name it New York Undercover. Harrell offered the project to DICKWOLF, who loved it and brought the show to Fox Network. Harrell preferred two black actors in the main role, although Fox preferred one to be black and one to be white. Fox and Harrell was able to meet in the middle and they settled for a Latino. Now that they had agreed on a race for the lead characters, it was time to cast them, with MALIKYOBA as Detectives J.C. Williams and Michael D. Lorenzo as Detective Eddie Torres. Fox did get their way with the shot-calling job of the commanding officer of the detective squad of the NYPD 4th Precinct that was portrayed by Patty D'Armonville Quinn as Lieutenant Virginia Cooper. Harlem, New York was a setting for New York Undercover. The show included primarily unknown actors. To make the characters more relatable, the writers intended Yoba to be the most relatable characters to most viewers, as most individuals at this time had children and they were single parents. Making the character too relatable leads to controversy, as the writers had Yoba's character leave his child mother, who was dark-skinned, for a light-skinned woman. The show's most notable recurring cast members was George Gore II as Gregory G. Williams, JC's son, Michael Michelle as Sandra Gill, JC's girlfriend, Fatima Flaloy as Chantel Tivany, G's mother, and Jose Perez as Mike Torres, Eddie's father, who was a jazz and salsa singer, also a recovering heroin addict. The show was officially greenlit on September 8th, 1994, and Fox aired it on its Thursday night lineup following Martin, a Living Single.
They're young, they're dangerous, they're passionate. They're cops. As kids, they grew up on the mean streets of New York.
Why don't you just give it up?
Well, you're gonna act like suckers, right?
This fall, they're coming to take them back.
Here's my card, in case you want to get something off your chest. Yeah, before we have to rip it open.
From the producer of Law and Order, New York Undercover Badass. Coming this fall to Fox.
The show immediately gained popularity for its musical montage of R&B and hip-hop tracks. Many musical performances were featured on the show, including those by Aaliyah and SWV, among others.
I'm
So glad you chose me.
The show took a very unique approach to send messages to its audience by using violence and family issues that was more relatable to its target audience. The show had a significant role in bringing issues in the black and brown communities to the mainstream. The first season was a smash and it averaged 7.4 million viewers, making it Fox's third highest rated show after Martin and Living Single. MALIKYOBA received the Image Award in 1994, and during his segment, he stated that the show has been a success, but Fox didn't renew the show for another season. Fox decided to renew the show, but they wanted more diversity. So by season 2, the showrunners had added another lead character in Lauren Velez as Detective Nina Moreno, Detective Eddie Torres' future wife. Velez's character was introduced to provide the point of view of a female officer in Harlem, New York. Ice-T, Isaiah Washington, Tyra Banks, Sticky Fingers, and the Notorious B.I.G. was among the numerous celebrities who appeared on the show in guest roles. This show addressed storylines that other cop shows wouldn't dare touch, such as NYPD Blue and Law & Order. With them shows refusing to touch certain storylines, this just increased New York Undercover's popularity since it was so relatable. During the show's second and third season, the show attracted 12 to 14 million viewers. The network informed the cast members that if they wanted to be successful, they needed to attract more viewers. Despite this, at the time, New York Undercover had a higher audience than NYPD Blue, which around this time they had brought in 14.1 and 12.5 million viewers. Also, Law & Order, who had brought in 10.9 and 10.5 million viewers. Although New York Undercover was one of the most popular cop shows of the 90s, it never received the accolades it deserved like DICKWOLF's other shows. The show was #1 in Black and Latino households, but Fox wanted more or demanded additional white people to appear on the show. By season 3, showrunners added Jonathan LaPaglia as Detective Tommy McNamara. Fed up by the show changes and tensions on the set led to actors Yoba and DiLorenzo not to show up to shoot for the third season. Yoba and DiLorenzo delivered a list of demands to DICKWOLF. The duo requested wage increases, creative involvement, a gym for the entire cast, and better food. Wolf denied the demands, claiming that the show was not Friends, despite the fact at the time the stars on Friends had earned around $1 million per episode. Wolf was furious, calling the demands and the actors a virus to the entertainment industry and threatened to fire them off the show. Universal Television launched a $1.2 million lawsuit against the duo, saying that they broke their contract and caused the corporation $60,000 a day in lost income. The duo returned to the set with their requests not met, working under the terms of their original contract.
We were like this, we had no hot food truck. Okay. There was no catering truck. There was no security. There was no, there was just a lack of respect and decency. The trailers, like there was a dude who worked in wardrobe who quit, found a food truck, outfitted it to be appropriate for set, and that's how we got a hot food truck. Because the feeling was, oh, we'll take care of you and Michael, but the rest of the crew got to fend for themselves. So this was a show with a Black and Latino star. The first time in the history of television, you had a Black and Latino in a dramatic series that was ever renewed past the first season. So we were not given the resources, right? We didn't even shoot on 35 millimeter film at the time. Before digital, we shot a 16, Super 16.
Yeah.
So from the stock of film to how we were treated, we weren't given the same resources, the same love. Now, Fox at the time wasn't even a full network. You had to have 13 right. hours of original programming at the time to be considered an original a network. We had 9. And so there were a lot of things that we were not afforded, the least of which was pay.
Yeah.
And so at that time, the Friends cast was also protesting pay. And so the timing was such where they tried to like literally there was a news reporter, I think it was like Entertainment Tonight, where they took out pictures to Laguna Beach, California, headshots, and walked up to all white people like, yo, do you know who these people are? Almost like a mugshot kind of vibe. To suggest, how dare you protest, be happy for what you have, stay in your place, because these people don't know who you are.
However, tensions between DiLorenzo and Wolf was growing, and Wolf made a choice that, in my judgment, ended the whole series. Wolf wrote DiLorenzo's character off to die in a vehicle explosion. By 1996, Fox had signed a deal to broadcast the NFL Super Bowl. Therefore, the network no longer needed their minority shows. Because of this new arrangement, they would provide the network with the viewership that they wanted. The fourth season included new characters such as Marissa Ryan as Detective Neil Delaney, Josh Hopkins as Detective Alex Stone, and Tommy Ford as Lieutenant Malcolm Barker. With the departure of Lieutenant Virginia Cooper and the death of Detective Tommy McNarma, the most notable aspect of the casting shift was the number of white folks the show brought in. Fox eventually got what they wanted, but at what cost? When the fourth season premiered, the audience refused to watch the show because of the network changes. Fox canceled the show on February 11th, 1999 after 4 seasons. The ratings for the fourth season was so poor that Fox decided not to air the final episode. As of January 2020, the relaunch of New York Undercover is still in the works. A deadline stated in July of 2020 that the remake may be released on Peacock. New York Undercover played a significant role on hip-hop and the events of its time, including the death of Tupac Shakur and the East and West Coast beef, to mention a few. These are prime examples of why this show had major changes. Simply, it was too real for TV. New York Undercover brought our world to the mainstream and made our culture normal to be broadcast on TV how we see it today. Now, before we end today's video, I have a couple questions for you guys. Did you like New York Undercover? Also, if New York Undercover gets relaunched, would you watch the remake?